this is Load Bearing Beams. I'm Matt Stokes.
And I'm Laci Roth.
And listen, Laci.
Oh, fuck.
I don't like you and you don't like me.
And that there's no way we'll become best friends on this deserted planet.
All I know is we need to work together to do this podcast to protect us from the meteor showers.
I'm pregnant.
Oh, my God. Mm-hmm. That person you hear laughing on the other end who is it?
What's going on, guys?
Hi.
Screen Time Kota, triumphantly returning to the podcast, was last with us for William Shakespeare's Romeo plus Juliet. And
it's movie plus math.
That's right.
That's why I liked it.
That's right. You have brought to us a movie called Enemy Mine that I had barely heard of. Wolfgang Petersen's 1985 sci-fi action epic / domestic drama.
Classic.
Domestic drama, yes.
And neither Laci nor I had seen this movie. I, in fact, had only learned of its existence when we did our Neverending Story episode in 2023, and I was researching Wolfgang Petersen, Herr Wolfgang, I call him, and learned of this. What is this movie? Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. on a planet or something. So tell us what your relationship is with this movie and why you wanted us to talk about it.
So my relationship with this movie, I was 15 years old, and my mom bought me this movie along with a couple other movies for Christmas. And it was one of the last movies that I watched with her before she passed away. And so it's been a long time since I watched this movie. So my history with it is just, it's got a very emotional impact on me. It's a movie that resonates with a time in my life that I felt was just genuine and I will never get back kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I cherish this movie and I'm so glad to actually speak about it. It's been a while.
Did you, so it's not a movie that you've like seen over and over again? It just,
no, I have not seen this movie in like 20 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I get that.
Yeah.
It would be hard to revisit something that, like just opens all those senses that just take you right back to that time.
Yeah.
But it seems like it is a bit of a cult classic. It has a following and a remake is in active development. A remake of everything is in active development, but
I am just now finding out about this and I do not know how I feel about that, Matt.
It's not good. They won't do it right.
No.
I forget his name. The person who was the showrunner of Star Trek Picard for seasons 2 and 3, which are the good seasons, he is developing it.
Okay.
Again, everything is in development and whether anything actually happens, I don't know. But I mean, to me, not knowing anything about this movie, but knowing it's a sci-fi movie directed by Wolfgang Petersen and having just come off the Neverending Story, I'm like 5 minutes into the movie and I'm like, there's no way I'm not going to like this movie with the production design, with the models and the matte paintings and the puppets and the makeup.
As soon as I saw the fucking turtle monster, I'm like, Matt loves this goddamn. We watched it apart because of schedule stuff, but as soon as I saw that thing, I'm like, oh, Matt loves this movie.
But a remake today.
I call that the vagina turtle.
No.
The remake would never do any of those things. So it's like, what is the point of doing that?
Right. And when you said Neverending Story, and that's the first time learning of it, I'm like, oh my God, this is Neverending Story. Mm-hmm. Yes, just the set pieces, the way it feels empty but full of things that people really worked hard on. But there's still this like vastness to the world because it's a big empty planet, right? So it feels lonely, and the way that the landscapes in Neverending Story are full but feel lonely. I don't know. I feel like I could make an echo in every set.
Because we watched this separately, I was about 30 minutes into the movie and thought, Laci's going to hate this.
I was like, what the fuck did Kota bring to my goddamn house? What is this?
You get mad when I say you don't like sci-fi, but you don't. I mean, it has to be a certain kind of sci-fi. When I say like, oh, the production design, I'm orgasming over how great it looks.
No, thank you.
You say I don't care about that stuff. But then it turns into a very like human story.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, she probably will like this. And then it gets like really sentimental. And I thought she's really going to like this.
I don't know that it made me really like it more, but as soon as it was about two guys, I was like, yes.
Mm-hmm. So how did you feel about it revisiting it, Kota?
I loved every second of it. I thought it was going to hit me on an emotional impact. I didn't know if I was going to be ready for it, but honestly, it felt genuine. It felt like
cathartic.
It was like what? Yeah, it was like stepping back in time for quick 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it was really good. I enjoyed it, especially more as an adult as well. I really, you really like resonate with the characters in a sense. Like if you have kids and stuff, you can resonate with Dennis Quaid's character, Will, especially when he becomes the father. It's there's a lot to love about this movie.
It is, and it's also one of those movies. Weirdly, Baby Boom, the movie we covered a few weeks ago, is kind of like this too, that neatly divides halfway and then becomes a different movie. But that's also a movie about a person who wasn't expecting to inherit a baby, and then it transforms them.
Yeah, that Baby Boom is about that.
But that movie was about yuppies in New York in the 80s, and this is about spacemen in the 1980s. I will say, and I'm sure this is a boring opinion, I seem to say this a lot, I think that the first half with Louis Gossett Jr. is significantly better than the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
And I was noticing when I watched it a second time, there's just weird pacing things that happen once the kid is born. Like it starts to like haul ass with plot development. Now he gets rescued. Now he's up in the space station. Now he's back on the planet. Now there's miners and all kinds of stuff is being thrown at you. And I think that the kid is really cute and I like their relationship, but it feels really, really rushed. Does anybody feel that way?
Go ahead, Laci.
Oh, I was just gonna say I think that's why I tolerated it so much. I like the long build up, the work that it took to build a relationship with someone that you think is your enemy. That was very earned. It felt like the right pacing for this. That needed the time, and you fall in love with a kid as soon as it comes out of your body, or as soon as you realize you're in charge of it. So I think maybe the experience of being a parent is it goes slow, but it goes so fucking fast. I'm not saying the movie did that intentionally, but it needed to pick up, or I was gonna. I didn't need another long, drawn-out relationship building thing. I can buy this parent-child relationship very quickly. So, Matt, I don't care what you think.
I'm sorry, Matt, but I gotta agree with Laci. I felt like it felt like I mean, you think about your life, right? You know, me and my buddy were actually talking about this yesterday. So you remember when you were like a kid and when it came around time for Christmas felt like
December
years
took
and years. Like,
yes.
Especially the last month and a half and such. But then once you hit like puberty, time goes fast. It just starts flying by. And next thing you know, a year feels like a month. And then all of a sudden you're an adult and time is moving even faster.
No,
so I feel like
we're almost to Christmas again. It's only February.
Yeah.
January makes me feel like the summer's here. Yeah.
And we're already stressing out about the summer. I have to write and record a theme song for our summer mini series. We're going to have to get childcare arrangements. Yeah, it's terrible. Life is terrible.
Yeah. And especially when you have kids, It feels like as your kids are growing older, it's just going by so quickly. And so I feel like Laci said, she doesn't know. We don't know if it's an intentional way that they did the ending. But that's what it felt like. It felt like it's going fast because he's going fast.
Yes.
You know, he's trying to raise this kid. He's trying to save this kid. He's trying to nurture this kid and keep him from harm. And the kid is just curious. He's,
right.
I want to meet my own people, you know? So sorry, Matt, but I agree with Laci.
Well, you bastard. But we'll talk about this more when we get to that part of the movie. That is where I feel like the movie gets a little sloppy, and I feel like I'm seeing a lot of reshoots, especially because now Dennis Quaid is clean shaven with a new haircut. And then this ending where you don't even see the characters, that's just extras standing in front of a painting where this narrator comes in who you've never heard and is like, and after all that, beautiful. They went to the planet and it was good.
Okay.
Goodbye. It feels like
I will agree with that ending. I will agree with that part because I was watching it. I was like expecting the narrator to say more, and it just ends and the credit pops up, and I was like, he doesn't say anything.
And you don't even see the characters.
All right, come on, let's actually talk about it.
All right, fine.
Fuck.
Wanna tell everybody to check out Screen Time Kota on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you get videos, I guess. Videos is what wherever you get your content. I hate the word content, but
So say it more.
Kota does movie reviews, and links to all of his videos are in the description.
When did you start a Patreon?
No, this is us.
Oh, we
So,
have a Patreon. Like what?
I want to
Kota?
tell.
Matt, your slide misleading.
I was like, wow, did you start it for me?
Yeah, we start. We're
I do
like
things like that.
yeah, we're like Facebook. We just when you're born, we assign a Facebook profile to you.
Activate.
You just
Here's
have to
your
claim
social
it.
security number 2.
Yes. Want to tell everybody about Load Bearing Beams Collector's Edition, our Patreon. For $5 a month, you get 2 bonus episodes every month. This episode's coming out in March, but we're recording it in advance. We have no idea what we'll be covering in March.
For those of you who have already signed up, you understand that you are my personal best friends.
Yeah, they are.
That comes with it's part of the package.
And dinner's always available for you if you come by our table. They're not going to do it.
They're not going to do
All
it.
right, I'll be by later on.
All right, history. The history of Enemy Mine. This is a movie where there's not a lot of information about it, unfortunately. No oral history, no nothing. But I was able to piece together some stuff. So this all started as a novella by Barry Longyear, an American sci-fi author, published it as a novella within a magazine, Isaac Asimov's science fiction magazine, and it went on to win the Hugo and Nebula Awards. So they make it a movie. And it's an international production, co-production between Fox in the U.S. and some European studios. They hire to direct Richard Loncraine. Okay, this is a movie that replaced its director mid-production.
Oh.
It's one of those. Richard Loncraine is this British TV and movie director. He directed the 1995 Richard III movie. He directed the Paul Bettany tennis rom-com Wimbledon. And they started shooting in Iceland, and the studio immediately got concerned because the budget was immediately going over. And they said he didn't seem to know how to shoot in different kinds of weather. We couldn't edit anything together. I have a quote from Louis Gossett. He said, quote, "He kind of directed himself into a corner because of the weather. He couldn't shoot anything that matched. We would still be there." So the studio halted production, fired Loncraine, and then wondered whether they should just cancel the movie altogether. But they had already paid these 2 stars, and they had pay or play contracts, which means we're paying you no matter what.
Nice.
So instead, they said, you guys hang out for 6 months. We'll pay you while we get a new director. And they bring on Wolfgang Petersen. And we have an extensive bio of him in our Never Ending Story episode. But, he made a big international blockbuster with Das Boot in 1981. And then from a 1985 interview of Wolfgang Petersen in the Boston Globe, he said, when they presented the script to him, he said, quote, I'm not a fan of Star Wars science fiction. I thought I'd hate Enemy Mine. But after reading the script, I realized that there was more going on than just to shoot 'em up in outer space. I really was very much impressed with the script, but I had too much to do. That's when they offered to stop production until I was done with the Never-Ending Story. On the footage that was already shot, he said all the magic was gone. Lou Gossett Jr. looked like a man in a rubber lizard suit, and Iceland looked like Iceland. He always had a feeling of a human inside something, and the feeling of the foreign planet was missing. So, end quote. So they, sorry.
I just want to point out that you do have a screenshot of Neverending Story on the screen, and I want to defend myself from earlier. Does that not look like a bunch of stuff to look like inside of a big thing of vastness?
I don't even know what you mean when you say that.
It just looks full and empty at the same time.
I thought I was having a stroke there for a second. I was
You
like,
are.
hang on, repeat that.
No, it
Okay,
looks
I knew it.
empty.
A thing in a thing of a vastness.
He has this ability to make sets that feel like, yeah, there's a lot that you built here. There's a lot of stuff to look at, but I feel alone. And like there's so much empty space. Like the world will render if I keep walking in it. So fuck yourself, both of you. Enjoy
I
fucking
can't tell if
yourself.
it's a compliment or not.
It's not, but it's a style.
I know what you're saying. So it's like just looking out into space. There's
Yes.
so much out there, but at the same time, it's so empty.
Empty, right? Exactly. So it's like full of pasta. It just seems like he knows how to spend money and cluster it, but then doesn't exactly know what to do with the idea of what the place is literally supposed to be in the story. It's a large place, but how do you fill all that space? And maybe it's because these movies were done in the 80s as well. It feels like set pieces.
The thing about both, so you always say set pieces. You just mean set.
I just mean set.
Well, I mean, that's why I like them. That's why I'm charming. I know I'm looking at a real thing. And I'd say the best thing about both of those movies is the production design and the sets. And I feel the emptiness, which I feel is intentional.
Yes, because in both of these movies, these characters are alone. They can only rely on each other and then eventually only on themselves. And you're supposed to feel lonely. And I feel like these movies would be great as like a double feature because together they make each other more interesting. And just kind of it makes me more interested in him, these kind of stories he likes to tell.
Am I the only one though? Okay, I don't know if this is just me. I'm a texture person, and some things, even if I'm not touching it, just look weird.
I'm with you.
So, Never-Ending Story and Enemy Mine, the scales and like the slime and on like the dragon or on the drac always just didn't sit right with me.
No.
It always grosses me out.
Well, because look at the bumps on the dragon, right? Like it's mixed in with the fur. Fucking gross. And then the teeth, horn things that are coming out of the face of the co-lead take me a long time to get over. You have tryptophobia, my friend. Look, Google that and you will exactly see what grosses you out. Then you'll know you have it. Tryptophobia.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Oh, man.
So it's actually trypophobia.
That's what I said.
It's just the fear of small dots.
It's the fear the fear of organic small dots, not just dots.
Okay, but if they made this in CGI today, I don't know. These two movies are going to look better in 100 years than anything that comes out today.
I think they look great. Matt, what are you hearing?
That you don't like them because they're gross looking.
You're a fucking moron. I can't help that I have this thing in my mind that makes me. I'm saying that these puppets are so effective, these costume choices are so effective that I can get over it.
Okay.
We watched Spice World the other week and you couldn't get past Baby Sucker. No. And that's just because it wasn't as strong, man. Yeah. This has strong design.
You did tell me that after you watched Spice the movie. Alone.
Yeah, I do, but you like to hear my negativeness and you decide I can say something negative but end in a positive, fucker.
I gotcha.
Do you?
So while they took the big hiatus, the big thing, they did a couple of big changes. One, totally changed the Drac makeup and costume for Gossett, and they built new sets. They moved the production to Munich, although they did some location filming in the Canary Islands, but then they filmed it on sound stages in Munich. All right, but let's briefly talk about the actors. We got Dennis Quaid, who was aged 30 years old. Laci, he is 6 feet tall.
Thank you.
His breakthrough performance. Well, just what do we all think of Dennis Quaid in general? If we're thinking about Dennis Quaid at all, what do we think of him?
My opinion went up of him for this movie. I feel neither here nor there about him, honestly. And now I'm like, what a sweetie. What a good acting chopped sweetie. And those pecs.
You can't go wrong with Dennis Quaid. I mean,
he's
Dennis
solid.
Quaid is he's the top of the food chain when it comes to actors. Like, he's just such a great fucking actor.
The top of the food chain when it comes to actors. Wow.
Yep. I said that.
He's
a snack, man.
He is a
snack. He's a snack.
He's a snack pack.
I always think of him as as kind of a failed movie star.
I think of him as a B-list Harrison Ford.
Well, as somebody who they thought would be a movie star, but it never really worked.
Yes.
And so he just had to settle into being a character actor.
Because he has the looks and he can act.
And this movie, he carries this movie.
And
this is in a run in the 80s. The other big sci-fi movie is Inner Space, Joe Dante's Inner Space, that he's also super charismatic and carries.
He is captivating.
But for some reason, it just didn't work. He had substance abuse problems too.
And he came back into Substance. Substance abuse.
You are so right.
Go. He needs to be taking some substance, though. The substance.
Okay.
Then maybe. Well,
no.
Okay. So Breaking Away in 1979, The Right Stuff in 1983, and then, of course, the star of Jaws 3D, a big movie for me.
I was going to mention it.
But Dreamscape, Enemy Mine, and Inner Space was the test of him as a leading man. None of them really hit. Dreamscape.
We just watched that one too for Popcorn Club.
Really?
Yes. I was like, wait, why?
Yeah, we did that for Popcorn Club.
Yes, yes. And he's good at that too.
Never seen it. I just know
a
it's
weird movie.
Isn't it supposed to be an Indiana
fucking
Jones
weird.
clone?
No, it is very weird.
No. It's like
sci-fi.
early 80s The Cell with Jennifer Lopez
Yes.
in a sense. It's like that. It's
like
weird,
that,
but it's
but-
good. Shout out to Monique's Movie
Madness.
Well, I mean, I think he's really good in this movie. I think one of the traits a movie star needs to have is, can you carry the screen by yourself?
Yes.
And he is he's acting with other actors, with Gossett and then with the kid in the costume later, but for a lot of it he's by himself and he's very compelling.
Yeah.
I think I was seeing like a he's not quite a Kurt. He keeps reminding me of Kurt Russell, but not getting there. I prefer Kurt Russell has just an edge that he can't have here, but maybe he makes up for it with the warmth.
About that.
The warmth is where
I never thought about that.
Kurt Russell can't have the warmth.
Kurt Russell's got warmth.
He doesn't have the warmth.
Oh.
I want to.
Dennis Quaid's got the warmth.
He's got the one.
T.
It's the eyes. He's got intense eyes.
He's got that smolder.
He's smoldering.
He is smoldering. It's true. So Louis Gossett Jr., who just died last year, I think if you combine the stage, the movies, and TV, you could say he's one of like the very most important actors of the 20th century. Big star on stage in the 60s and 70s, and then he won an Emmy for Roots on TV in 1977. Won Best Supporting Actor Oscar for An Officer and a Gentleman in 1982. He was the first black man to win Best Supporting Actor, and then kept being a super prolific actor up until, let's see, The Color Purple was the musical movie remake from a few years ago was his last role, and then he also got an Emmy nomination for being on Damon Lindelof's Watchmen a few years ago. But he is was
he the blind man?
Yes.
Yeah.
What a performance from him in this movie under all that makeup.
Amazing.
I didn't know he was 6'4".
Yeah, he's 6'4".
This is why I get Matt to tell me these things.
He's such a physical actor in this movie. He's constantly crouching and squatting.
And all that makeup, dude. How
are you able to give such an emotional performance
his
under
eyes,
all that bizarre makeup? Yeah.
The tear,
the burst scene. Oh my God. That brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah, I mean, every time they choose for these characters to cry, I was like, yes, let's cry. This is sad.
This is a good time right now.
Good time for this.
When the kid cries, or when he just has a little tear because he sees the other Dracs. He's like, I've always wanted to see a Drac, but no, they're enslaved.
I have a hard time with that whole part. But
so this movie got mixed to negative reviews. But the movie got a huge marketing push, even though the studio wasn't sure how to market it. Now, I think in retrospect, it's clear you market this as an E.T. sort of movie for the whole family. Instead, they have this poster that's like, these two fuckers are gonna fight. And the studio blamed the poster because
the title.
I looked at this poster and thought I knew exactly what the movie would be. But before I watched it, I was just putting my slideshow together preliminarily, and I Google image searched Enemy Mine, and I see Dennis Quaid holding an adorable alien kid, and I was like, wait a minute, what?
Right.
So yeah, it was a flop. It was a big box office flop, but remake in development, and we will all be boycotting. We will be throwing stones at the movie theater when that inevitably opens, and that's the history of Enemy Mine.
Here's the only way I would love to see the remake actually work: get Jack Quaid to play.
The natural thing to do.
We've been saying this. We're like, the only way we want Nepo babies is if they exactly replace their parents. It's the only way we'll take it.
I know. Why do we need new actors to have opportunities? No.
We can have their spawns.
Yeah. And Louis Gossett Jr., is there a junior that we can get?
Yes, I want a third.
Yeah. I was thinking though, there is a lot of good mythology in this movie that's underexplored, and so I could see maybe turn it into a 6-episode miniseries. There's the stuff with his alien race. I thought, like, this is pretty meaty stuff for this is kind of heady sci-fi right here. All the questions it's asking about gender and sort of individualism versus living as a community. I don't know. There's stuff there.
There's stuff.
I think if they were to do it as a TV series or a mini series, I think it would work really well, because I feel like they could, like you said, there's a lot of lore and myth into this film that they can explore a lot more, and I think a TV series, if they were to do it, would probably work the best than a remake movie.
Obviously, there's a ton of Star Trek vibes here because the Dracs feel like Klingons. in a way. I mean, they're less militaristic, but they have this whole like honor code. And maybe I'm just saying that because it's literally a black man in makeup, and that's what the Klingons were. But I could see it like that. I could see it being a sort of ongoing Star Trek Federation and Klingon thing. I don't know.
Side story.
I like this idea though of like them looking into why were we taught, who did it benefit for us to be taught that we are enemies, and then it only took us interacting for a little while to realize we were both fed lies. So I just think it's an interesting place to pick up from is where we leave off in the first movie. I'd take that.
Yeah.
I want to see. I mean, it's very white savior if you do it that way.
So are you saying like a prequel?
No, just to pick a direct sequel. Is that what they call it? Yeah. When it picks up right where it leaves off, sequel
or something like
or just something about the son and uncle trying to change things politically amongst their
races.
Well, I think so. Laci said white savior, and I think there is a little bit of that, but I was pleasantly surprised that it's not like the literary trope of somebody who goes native. That's not what happens. No. He doesn't decide their society is better than mine. He just loves an individual and wants to save that individual. Like, he doesn't defect. He doesn't end the war. He has no opinions on the war, really. Well, it just becomes very personal for him.
And respectful. Like, he puts it on even, he never stops loving his earthlingness.
Right,
but develops such a respect for the differentness of the Drac people.
Yes. So the sequel would be him saying, like, no, but they're good. And then the humans would be like, well, we got to fight somebody. We bought all these weapons.
We gotta fight somebody. Might as well start a World War 17 by this point.
I mean, that's why wars happen.
This whole ship is a gun. What are we gonna do with our ship? The ship is just one gun.
No, we got to take this out into the. We got to, put her out on the open road. See how. See
that fucking planet over there? Fuck that planet.
Up. If we don't get to know that planet, what are we losing? What are we losing?
I like the scene where they talk about, like, they can't even agree on who started the war because they're just like, well, you started the war. No, you came to this part of the galaxy. No, we've always been in this part of the galaxy. It's like they can't even agree on basic facts.
Right.
Because, like, ultimately it doesn't matter.
I want to see each of their textbooks.
Yeah, and like when he's reading learning his language, he's like, this is the same as the language, like the book on my planet.
Right.
So I was like,
same moral lessons.
You guys have the same morals. So like French.
I love that scene.
Good.
That's my favorite scene in the movie. Well, I want to spotlight that when we get. Yeah, this movie opens with that classic 20th Century Fox logo, which we love to see. I'll never stop talking about it. The federal government needs to make Disney sell off 20th Century Fox. It's a travesty that they own Fox. Anyway, matte paintings, models. Oh my God, it's all happening. And Dennis Quaid's narration explains, but late in the 21st century, like basically 20 years from right now, when we're podcasting, the nations of the earth were finally at peace, working together to colonize the distant reaches of space. And then he's like, unfortunately, and we see a dead astronaut float by. He's like, there were other people there too. Yeah. The Dracs. They had squatters' rights on the most primo space real estate. They weren't gonna get away with it without a fight.
Sounds like colonizing to me, baby.
You said they had squatters' rights.
Squatters' rights.
This is ours. Oh, that's okay. Yes, that's the other big thing that I like. The story decision is this is not the Drac planet that they go to. It's basically a neutral site that they both arrive on. Yeah. Yes, they arrive in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. Some Drac ships attack the Earth station, and Dennis Quaid, who plays Will Davidge, And his pals, they get in their own little ships. And they're like, let's go kick some ass.
I'm glad this part is quick. I'm like, no.
It is very quick because
no.
Dennis Quaid is like, I got this one. Oh, no, I'm crashing. And the Drac ship that he shoots down, they both crash down onto this planet.
I did not expect such an emotional moment to come immediately. Like that little speech that the best friend gives about like, make sure no one calls my date the white balloon. She doesn't like that. And like he spends his last few seconds being so kind to this for someone else. It's just like, okay, movie.
To the man
where
that
are
got
you
him
going?
and didn't listen.
No, he's gonna get back. What did he say, Will? What did he say? He wasn't making any sense at the end. I don't know.
He would fucking say
They
it.
just love calling her the white balloon, though.
Hang on. Laci, you said he would tell them, but yet when he got rescued later on, he didn't say shit about it.
He had things on his mind,
There's
Kota.
a lot going on. Maybe he did. We just didn't see it. We don't have to see
Get
it.
around to it. Fuck. He's a father now.
But Laci, you're right. This happened so fast, and I'm glad it's a great hook. Is this a ship that I shot down, and now we are crash landed on this planet?
Right.
It spent no time getting right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His co-pilot Joey dies in a surprisingly emotional scene. Now he's all alone here on this vast, empty planet that looks immaculate.
It does look
love
amazing.
the way it
He
looks.
can make
It's
time too.
gorgeous.
He can walk across that thing like nothing. He gets from hill to hill.
He's like the plane crashed over there, not
Right.
too far, and you're looking at it, you're like, dude, that's like 30 miles, bro.
That's 30 miles. I'll get there before that second sun
That's
sets.
no
though.
time.
But this is like the opposite of Ridley Scott's The Martian, where it's like we will use the entire GDP of the Earth to rescue a guy from Mars.
Yeah.
Here it's like, hey, he crashed on that planet. All right, well, fuck him. They
But-
never come back for him.
That's not true.
We
They
got
come
more
back
pilots.
to collect his body. In fact, that's a whole career is just going to collect bodies. It's part
it
of
sure takes him a long time.
it's part of space
3
exploration.
years.
He says in the voiceover, he says, I'd never seen a Drac in person. I knew they were completely inhuman.
Right.
Not even male or female, but both bundled together in a scaly reptilian body. So there is a very long tradition, folks, of sci-fi that deals with gender. You can invent alien species that, like in this movie, are I think what you'd call ambisexual, which is they are both male and female. Ursula Le Guin's The Left Hand of Darkness, the 1969 novel, deals a lot with this, and this movie is in that tradition of making you have to examine your own ideas about gender. It's so interesting when later in the movie, Louis Gossett's character Jerry says like, you humans divided your sexes. The more enlightened way is to be both. I don't know. It's interesting. Well, it's not like the humans chose to do that, though.
Hey, you don't know.
I don't know. Maybe somebody
He was
did.
taught that they did.
We see that furry little turtle thing, the vagina turtle, get sucked into a Sarlacc pit. I mean, it's literally a Sarlacc pit from Return of the Jedi.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. But it eats out
I thought the same thing.
which was only 2 years old at the time. But yeah, it eats that turtle, spits that turtle out, and then burps. Even the Sarlacc pit also burps.
They do though imply that that's a Drac. I thought that's what I was saying.
Are we boring you, Laci?
I
Are we boring you
yawn.
right now?
I don't know how to make it not happen. When the more I talk, the more I yawn. Fuck off. And yes, you're boring me.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
okay. I'll see
No,
you later.
we're always on a timer with Laci. She's like Sonic.
What the fuck did I do?
She's tapping her foot. I'm waiting. Wait, so you thought that the Sarlacc pit was a Drac?
Because he says the thing about how they're scaly, and we're supposed to think they're like the most menacing thing ever. So the first thing we see is something scaly pop out of the
okay.
ground and
you
murder
go.
something.
That's true.
He might have done that on purpose because it was right after the narration of it. So maybe that was to give the thought to the audience that this is a Drac. This is what they are fearing. And then you meet Jerry.
Well, I think we need to be scared by something that's scaly and out for blood so that we can be friendly and open to this thing that's humanoid like in its shape, even if it is scaly and weird to look at.
So Will is cautiously survey. He sees the Drac wrecked ship and he's like spying on it with its binoculars. And he says like, I'm glad that Drac son of a bitch is still alive so I can kill him myself. He's just programmed. I gotta hate the Drac. The Drac is my enemy.
He killed his best friend. That just happened.
Well, yes, but it was.
Well, I mean, Dennis Quaid killed his best friend. He told him we should just go, and he still went after him. I'm just saying.
You know how it is, though. You got to blame somebody, even if it's him. He's still got to put his anger someplace.
You were in your vessels. It's war, you know?
Oh, my God.
But he sees the Drac is swimming in a pool or whatever. And so he's like, while he's swimming, I'll pour gasoline or something into the water and then shoot it. And he does. He drops his gun and it makes a loud noise. And that's where the Drac becomes aware of his presence. And this is our first look at Lou Gossett in the makeup. It looks outstanding. But the weather on this planet is so volatile. It starts pouring rain. And there's a nice little moment where we see both of them just opening their mouths up to drink the rainwater. Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, then they set the pool on fire and the Drac emerges and then captures him and ties him up. And they start talking. They start talking to each other.
It does seem that Dennis Quaid knows a little bit of Drac. I mean, he knows enough to tell that he is saying his name to him. And then, I don't know, they must be aware of just the most basic words.
I figure it's like the Cold War where like Americans knew basic, like, niet.
Right.
Da.
Right. Like he's pulling things out of what Jerry is saying and going, okay.
I'd be the guy that just sits there and talks and like, hey, go outside.
I'd be terrible at this. I don't like the gesture. I don't even like the talk. I just feel like you don't get it. Okay, that's fine.
You would walk away. You'd walk away. I'm going to go survive on my own things. Okay. I don't know how to tell people I need stuff.
See you later.
So yeah, he gets tied up and he's like, you got to feed me something. So the Drac gives him this weird looking slug thing and he reluctantly eats it. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But they start like gutturally talking to each other. And for some reason, Will hears his name and decides, I'm going to call you Jerry because it sounds vaguely like what you said. Mm-hmm. What is it? His real name is Jerry Ba.
Looking at you, Kota.
Jabala? It's something like that. I know it starts with a J.
All right.
Do you think it starts with a Jerry?
Maybe. They were pretty much just having like one of those like, you know, macho man, like I'm tougher than you. Watch me eat this slug. You want to laugh? I'll eat it. I don't care. I loved it.
I love the way that Louis Gossett talks as him before he starts saying words. He does the trilling, mm-hmm. which sounds so cool, like so musical mm-hmm. And cool and so alien.
And turns out it is singing. It's just that part of their speaking is singing.
Which I always love when I find that out about an alien. Because that is a thing that happens. Is like, oh, that's part of our language is singing. But yeah, later it starts raining meteors. So Dennis Quaid's like, you gotta let me out. So the Jerry does cut him loose, and they go run into a cave together, and then kind of almost cuddle together. Very sweet. Mm-hmm. But then Will wakes up, sees that Jerry is asleep, and sees the knife, and he's like, I could kill him right now, but he decides not to.
Yeah.
And so the next morning he like goes out to the alien ship and he sees these weird like jello things and he starts gorging on them. And then Jerry comes out and he's like, hey, that's my jello. And he's like, no, don't kill me. You owe me. I saved your life. And so at this point they start basically working together because mm-hmm. they have the meteor showers and they need to build a shelter to protect themselves, even though the perfectly good cave is right there. They don't seem to realize they can go into the cave for another hour or so. And understanding each other proves not that difficult. But Jerry makes Will do all the work. He has to carry all the supplies up into the forest and stuff.
That's kind of fucked up. But is it because he's pregnant? Because it might be because we don't know how long the gestation period is.
Yeah,
he just knows that this human will not take serious. He waits till the right time to explain this because he would have given him shit for it and not appreciated what it really meant.
Do all Dracs die when they give birth, or does something just go wrong for him?
Something went wrong for him.
Yeah, because he even states that something's wrong.
Right. Oh, that's your clue, is when he says something's wrong.
There you go.
That something is wrong.
I mean, isn't that anybody's clue? Hey, man, something's wrong. Okay, something's right. You got it.
Yeah.
He starts building this house, and then he's like, huh? How about that work, huh? Solid. And Jerry's like, shit. He's like, it's not shit. How dare you? And he's like, shit. And then the thing topples right then and there. Okay, so there's a lot of back and forth about you're ugly. No, you're ugly. I'm not ugly. You're ugly. It's it's funny little banter. I like this thing. I think we mentioned this earlier, where they're talking about trying to get something done. And Dennis Quaid says, like, the old saying is, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And the Drac and Jerry says, you learned this from the great Drac teacher Shizmar? And he says, no, from Mickey Mouse. He's a great Earth teacher. Now, I've realized this is a thing that happens whenever it happens in fiction. I love it. And I like in the real world when it happens, like when you find out that like the story of Cinderella is in both like European fairy tales, but also in Chinese and Japanese fairy tales when there would be no, it's like they just sort of independently came up, or in Stephen King's The Dark Tower series, which I'm reading right now and takes place in a sort of parallel universe that's not our own. And yet the song Hey Jude exists. And that kind of creeps me out when I think about it.
It should always exist.
Where did it come from?
It just is.
Will goes hunting. He kills a turtle. They eat this turtle. They start talking about how their species are different. And Laci, do you want to take over at all?
Sorry.
This is just a section of the movie where they're trying to get stuff done, trying to understand each other, and sort of debating the differences between their peoples. The Dracs are more communal. They are just less individualistic. Like lineage is very important to them.
Yes.
Because the idea we're part of something much, much bigger than ourselves. They can't really agree on how the war started or who started it. But Jerry keeps talking about the great Shizmar, and Will says, the great Shizmar eats shit. And then he gets really mad at him and he says, well, Mickey Mouse is one stupid dope.
It is interesting. Like everything, I guess, to keep themselves safe, the Drac people do not share their stuff with outsiders. It's like a big honor to bestow on them to tell him about his lineage and stuff. And, so at first I'm thinking, oh, of course, this freaking American Earthling is going to insist that this guy learn English rather than him learning his language. And then I'm like, oh, okay, no, they don't let people in on this. Like, and the fact that he knows Drac is like, it freaks out everyone. Everyone knows it's significant. The Drac people know it's significant. Everyone on the ship know that. And that's because it just doesn't happen. It takes a very special relationship to be let in that much.
Yeah, you literally wear it on your person, the book of secret knowledge.
Well, even just to be able to speak their language though, right? Like he like gives it, I think he saves his life or does something good. And he's like, I will repay you by teaching you my language.
Yeah. He saves him from the Sarlacc pit, and this is kind of where their relationship turns around. They become friends, and they realize that these turtle shells, well, we could build our house out of them. So they build a house out of turtle shells, and he starts learning. He asks Drac to teach him the Drac language, and he does. Well, no, first he's like, no, Shizmar is too good for you. Remember what you said about Shizmar? And he says, Dennis Quaid says, well, have you forgotten what you said about Mickey Mouse? And Jerry says, like, I'm so sorry. That was wrong. I didn't mean it. I like that this isn't played for laughs. They play it totally sincerely.
They really are equally matched. They just, I don't know. I think they go toe for toe very well. With the Earthling, playing kind of the dope when he probably should.
Their relationship just felt genuine. Like as it was growing, it felt very genuine and not really like you can feel the chemistry as best friends, like friends growing into, best friends. And I really love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that Dennis Quaid is not like constantly making fun or rolling his eyes. He's just like, he's really into it. He seems in awe of the stuff he's learning. They seem to really respect each other.
I like that. I like when he starts teaching him, they read from the Talmud. There's this quote, if one receives evil from another, let one not do evil in return. Rather, let him extend love to the enemy that love might unite them. And Dennis Quaid says, yeah, I've heard all this before in the human Talmud. And I think that's so interesting that it's like, yeah, we have these ideas too. It's just, we don't really care about them. We don't take them seriously.
Right.
You're not saying anything I've never heard before. It's just that my people don't care about that shit. So that does seem like a pretty significant divide.
And it goes to his point of being divided as a people, because we take a religion, then we take what we once we don't like something in it, we make our own religion and say it's different. And then we keep dividing until religion and things that are said and are sacred mean fucking nothing. It's all marketing.
It's customized to your specific needs.
So yeah, he's heard these lessons before, but because there's, 15 gods dishing this out, no one earthling gives that much shit about it or really feels like it all came from one place. So there's not one thing to it's not sacred the way it is for the Drac.
That's true, but even for Christians, the words of Jesus are very basic, like love thy neighbor, decrying people who are rich.
But we have spent so much time ignoring the parts we want to ignore and believing the parts we want to believe that it can all it all feels a bit meaningless. And everything's fair in love and war. It's like, yeah, I'm not supposed to kill my neighbor unless it's a Drac or, whatever. It's just, it all goes out the window. But it seems for the Drac people who it's a big part of them to all believe this same thing, you can see them taking some kind of trite thing like that and be like, no, you're not supposed to do the bad thing because you just did a bad thing. I could just see you taking it much more seriously.
And he says, like, the reason you haven't learned it the way we've learned it is because the words of Shizmar must be sung. And he starts trilling his song, but it's like the message and the language are intertwined, which I've heard people say about Islam and Arabic, that you can't.
Well, that makes sense.
That like, you can only truly understand it if you speak Arabic because they are so one and the same, the message and the way the message is presented. But this is, it's just such a great scene in the movie, my favorite scene in the movie. And all of it is in front of an immaculate matte painting of the sky.
What do you keep calling it? A matte painting?
Yeah, like it means that I myself painted it.
What does it mean?
Matte, M-A-T-T-E. That's the material that they use for movie sets.
Okay. It's just like a stupid thing to say.
Why?
I don't know, you're dumb.
Why? What?
I don't know why, Matt. You just are. Okay, keep going. You've just said it multiple times, and it confused me every time, and now I know what it means.
I'm sorry you don't know something.
Just call it a Laci painting. Move it on.
And what about a Kota painting? What the fuck?
No.
I'll alternate. So it starts.
You're right.
It starts meteor showering, and they have to run to their hut for its first real test. But Jerry's not able to run as fast, and Will gets really upset with him. He's like, "Come on, fat ass! Why are you so lazy?"
I was confused as to where this came from. And Jerry just takes it, and it's never addressed until it is. And I'm just like, why is he acting like that? To me, it looked like Jerry got hurt. Not that he's just assuming he's fat and lazy.
Yeah,
like he might have stumped his toe.
And it also shows you that right then and there, as Dennis Quaid's character Will is just yelling at him, calling him a fat ass, calling him lazy, and all this such. It shows that the Drax people, even in that confrontation, they still will not argue back, yell back, or even try to fight. Like, they're not a confrontational people. Like, it shows you right there. Like, he just, like you said, he took it. And, of course, you find out why shortly after. But it's like, it shows you what kind of, like, when shit goes haywire, us humans are the ones that are going to get
hot-headed,
catastrophic and hot-headed and stuff. And these people, they're just trying they're just trying to survive.
Right. They have a physical tussle right here, but it's Dennis Quaid who starts it.
Yes. And Jerry can't fight back physically. He could get hurt. The baby could get hurt, and he's not ready to tell what's going on with him. And, these preconceived notions that Will has been fed, that they're lazy, it echoes. And, that they, he's letting Will do all the work, and I'm sure Will's thinking, typical Drat, but it's like, no, I have my reasons. They're good reasons. You are just such a typical earthling that you're too dense to not to take them seriously right now. So I'm not going to tell you about what's going on with my body because you could use it against me. And even worse, you could not respect it, and I would have to fucking kill you. Except for I wouldn't, because I'm Drac.
They have another of their debates about who started the war, who wants to conquer the universe, and Jerry says, humans they spread like a disease, because he says, like, in his favor, he's like, we've settled twice as many planets as you. And he's like, yeah, exactly, that's my point. But then after the meteor shower is over, Dennis Quaid says, like, I'm going stir crazy. I have to leave. I have to go explore. And it's like, it kind of proves exactly what he just said. Like, you have to move. You have to spread for whatever reason. You're just your programming. But still, I don't think the movie has a position that like it's one side is good and the other is bad. Like this isn't Starship Troopers where you realize that the humans are the bad guys. The bad guy is just war itself. So he leaves to go
ideology itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bad guy.
The bad guy is ideology.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Will leaves to go find something. I don't know. Got to find something.
Just wants to see if he's the only one on this planet. Besides the other guy he's been with.
And he finds a Pepsi can and he's so
I
happy
love that Pepsi.
Yeah.
I want that Pepsi can.
It does look delicious.
No, I don't want to drink it. I just want to own it. I want it to be behind me.
I want to drink it.
Okay.
And I hate Pepsi, but if it came in a future can, hell yeah.
So he goes out and he does find signs of people have been around and they're people who are part of his culture. So he gets excited because he sees familiar objects, but then he quickly realizes, oh, fuck, this is scavengers. Scavengers are people that we tolerate because they go ahead and kill the Drac for us by enslaving them and using them for their ability to work hard and their athleticism, I'm guessing. But I need to go tell my favorite Drac about this so he doesn't come wandering out here and become enslaved. You know, he's like, fuck, it's safe for me to walk around. I'm a colonizer. I've got the face of the winner. I need to go save my friend who will be fucked.
Yes.
He realizes, I think in that moment, like, oh, this is not a fair fight.
So he goes back to the hut and he's like, Jerry's like, hey, what'd you find? And he's like, nothing. Well, but Laci, he doesn't tell him what he found.
He doesn't tell him, but he goes to protect him.
Okay.
He doesn't want to tell him and scare him. He just wants to be with him so he doesn't go wandering around. But
it is a very nice scene where Jerry's just like, I'm happy you're back. And he's like, I'm happy I'm back too, pal. This is, I'm sure that there is a queer reading of this movie, especially as it gets into the gender stuff. And now when he reveals he is pregnant, he is awaiting a new life. Look, here's my stomach. This is where my baby is. And they both, laugh and kind of celebrate it as if they are a married couple who are about to give birth. But he's also like, there's this pattern to the Drac life. You live your life and then you have a baby, and your life is about your baby and the continuation of the species.
You have a duty. You have a duty to keep go. You know, if you are one that can breed, then you have the baby.
And he is sewing baby clothes for the baby. He's going to name the baby Zamis. But while they're asleep, that Sarlacc monster comes through their floor and strangles Jerry. Is going to eat Jerry, but Will wakes up and saves him in time. And then the hut is basically collapsing. So they have to make it to the cave. They get to the cave. All is good in the cave, but his health is deteriorating. And so Will is like, tell me about your lineage. To like keep him distracted. And he does. And then he explains, like, if I die, I'm going to need you to remember my heritage so that you can teach it to my baby. And then one day present my baby at the Drac Council and recite the baby's lineage.
Right. And this is probably when whatever went wrong. I think he's just staying alive through sheer will to like let the baby have the best chance at surviving. I think, he starts dying here because he's already passing on the lineage thing.
Mm-hmm. And I love this moment where he asks Dennis Quaid to tell him about his own lineage. And he's like, well, my dad made computers and my mom was a waitress. And then Jerry recites it back to him. And it's like, son of Dolores, the waitress, and Bert, the computer, Carl, who made computer. But he now makes it sound very like noble and regal, even though it's very ordinary. But it's just kind of beautiful to think of your own life in terms of being part of something much bigger and grander.
It's very smart to do it so that he can understand, just in that moment of like, oh, this is why you're doing it. Yes. I do feel connected to my grandpa all of a sudden when I haven't thought of him in forever.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't even know.
I really, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really love that. It felt like, it felt sad at the same time though, because it was like you're seeing Jerry already like things aren't looking too good. Mm-hmm. And so when he asked that, it was like him being like, now we are connected. Like we're not just best friends. We're like family now, and I really love that scene.
And like Laci said, that's him making him realize this is why it matters. And maybe if you thought of yourself as part of a larger thing, you would feel more connected to both the past, but also the future. That you owe something ethically and morally to the people who are going to come after you as well.
And that's why it's very touching at the end when I knew that he would fulfill his promise and make sure that Zumi's got, was connected to his people by reading the lineage in front of whoever. But that they even added Will to their lineage because he had shepherded a Zumi boy, and he became part of their Earthlings are never going to feel this way about their lineage, but you did your duty and now you are a part of ours forever.
Laci, I'm sorry, you kept saying Zoomies.
Is it Zoomies?
No, it's Zammies.
Zammies?
Zamis.
Yeah.
Zamis. Zoomies. He
Not
says
Zamis, yeah.
Zamis. Or
Zommies. That's it. Zommies.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Zoomies. Like when he first said it, I was like, okay.
You can just tell me. Okay, zombies.
But Zamis is coming. Here he comes. And Jerry's like, something's wrong. Will says, no, nothing's wrong. All women get nervous when they go into labor, or pregnant people. It's like, hey, pregnant people.
Hey.
Interesting. Basically says at this point, like, listen, I'm dying. You're going to have to take care of this baby. Write this down. Go to the Drac Council. Recite lineage. Here's the lineage. Are you listening?
He'd already taught him the lineage. He's smart. He'd been dying this whole time, and he's like, I'm literally about to die. This baby is cooked enough. Take it out of the oven. Bye.
But Will is devastated because he's like, but I can't be alone. And he says, well, you are only alone within yourself. All humans are. It's just the way that you think about yourselves. And certainly I think about myself that way, and know that we're all happier when we're together. The more we get together, the happier we'll be, you might say.
I guess you have to be a sarcastic asshole about that.
No, I know. I can't even say it.
A human.
Yes, I know. No, I know. The thing we actually require to be happy is to be deeply connected to each other, and yet the antibodies in my system resist that. I'm like, I want to be by myself. Leave me alone.
You're just real Sigma.
Yes, I'm very Sigma. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he dies. And I like that. I like that Dennis Quaid's like, no, you're going to be fine. Just keep pushing or whatever you got to do.
Right.
Whatever you got to do.
He really gives him no instructions about this baby, though. He's just like, here, get the baby out of here. That's all.
I don't know. I think Jerry's really smart in how he understood Will right away. He knew Will could not handle knowing that he was dying this whole time, or Will would not have been paying attention. Will would have been trying to get him like healthy, or like trying to figure out how they can get off the planet. He would have been completely distracted. What he needed to be focused on is learning this stuff about Zamis and my culture, because you need to pass this down. You need to focus. I already know I'm dying and you're going to be his dad. But if he would have told Jerry that, Jerry wouldn't have, it's not in him. He would have found a way to make it about something else.
That is a great point. And I feel like right now on the planet with climate change as this inevitable threat, people have the Dennis Quaid reaction of like, no, we'll build an ark or something. We'll go live on Mars. We'll terraform Pluto. I don't know. Rather than, what are we going to do to make this better for the people who come long after we're dead? But nobody can think in terms like that.
Well, also, we're spending our time building these things and thinking of these things, and we're not spending any time together. What Jerry was able to do is make Will just totally focus on him, and Jerry focused on Will. And like they built this bond that made it to where he was a great caretaker for zombies.
Starting with getting him out of that womb. He just rips it open and pulls out this
crab.
baby. Now, when this happened, I had no idea this was coming. I was legitimately stunned at what the movie was now turning into.
Okay.
Because I assumed this was going to be their enemies, now they're friends, and now, the human army's back, and he has to make a choice. That's what I assumed was going to happen. And in a way, it kind of does, but I just assumed, like, this movie's all about the relationship between these two men, not also a baby.
Right.
But this little baby puppet comes out and coos, and Dennis Quaid is grossed out, but also falls in love with it.
I don't think he's grossed out. I think he's ever grossed out. No.
A little bit. He goes, ew. But the baby squeezes his fingers, just like human babies do. Aww. Did you guys notice that when the score gets really sentimental, the sting sounds a lot like A Whole New World?
No.
All right.
Okay.
No.
But again, he was not given any instruction on what to do with the baby. What do you feed the baby? How often does the baby sleep? He just tries to, here, try to eat this, okay? No, okay. But it seemed to be working out.
Because he figured out he needs to chew it for the baby. Like, oh, babies can't chew so good.
Yeah, okay. The movie is now hauling ass at this point, which I think is a little bit to its detriment.
How long did you want this movie to be?
Well, that's you gotta. I'm not the screenwriter. You got to figure out your pacing, man. I don't get paid to do that. We get a few scenes of him struggling with the baby, but then they get past that, and he's like, "Now I'm just happy with my child."
I like that.
Yes, I like that too. The kid grows really fast. Is first played by a puppet, but is now played by an actor. And the child Zamis calls Dennis Quaid uncle, and he like comments on like, "Hey, we don't have the same number of fingers. What's up with that?" And Will has to tell him, well, like, I'm a human and you're a Drac. And the kid can't even comprehend this.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a mirror. You know, I mean, he just sees his
reflection in water.
Well, right. But that's when he goes to look for it. He just sees Uncle's face.
Well, but even if you know you look different, you're like, well, as far as I know, there's people and there's only two people in you and me. And the only thing that matters is that we're people. And this is certainly like race is, everybody knows race is a social construction. If you removed, sort of outside, if you removed externalities, this is how kids would think about each other. So it is a little bit of a glimpse at the sort of utopian idea that we could all just learn to love each other and see what we have in common absent outside forces. But then the scavengers arrived. A spacecraft arrives, and when Will sees that it's the scavengers,
pirates.
Yeah, he goes and tells Zamis, he's like, okay, stay the fuck away from there. If you're ever moving in that direction, immediately stop and turn around. The kid's like, okay, I understand. Not really.
Well, because as soon as he says your father or your parent was my friend, that's when Zamis is like, oh, okay. So humans and Dracs can be friends. I'll just go do that. That's why he leaves.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. The movie doesn't make that it doesn't really make it clear why Zamis then runs off by himself to go.
Well, because you're not an adopted child who's never seen your own.
Exactly. Come on, Matt. It was reflected. It was explained. He was curious about his race and the humans. And he's like, oh, they're working together. Wait, they're not working together.
Right. No, so I know, but I think a more full screenplay would be like he'd have the scene where he understands this is the rule, and then he has to get tempted, or he has to see like another scene of contrast with him and Dennis Quaid. Now it's like I really just need to go look at my own people. Instead, it just happens right away, and it's fine. But Dennis Quaid's like, look, you can't go be with humans. One day you're going to be off this planet. You're going to be back with your own people and you're going to forget all about me. And he's like, I won't forget you, uncle. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess not. I won't forget you either then.
No, I guess not.
Guess not.
So Zamis, goes to the human camp. There's some pirate bastards see him.
Fuck with him.
And he sees that they have enslaved Dracs, other Dracs. This is the first time he sees Dracs at all. At first he's like, oh, and then realizes they are enslaved, and he cries. Then these pirate assholes see him. They start taunting him. He tries to run away, but he can't. Dennis Quaid arrives, shoots one of them dead, but then they shoot him and leave him for dead.
And I'm terrified of what they're going to do with Zamis, because they already thought he looked like he was a little too pampered, and then he scratches them, and I'm just like, this kid is fucked. I don't even care if you get him back. He's traumatized. He is fucked. The movie doesn't deal with that so much, but whatever. He looks dead to me. I did like this.
Quaid looks pampered right here too.
Oh yeah. But the way that this is so interesting. I haven't watched enough sci-fi to see if this is an idea that's ever been used before, but you just see this wreath and floating in space and this body bag, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a nice little ceremony. And then you realize it's a Disney ride of like, it's just this recording that a conveyor belt with a body comes on. They read what religion that the person is. They just hit a button, pump out a wreath, say a recorded thing, throw the body out into space.
They'll see which
loads another wreath like a shotgun.
And a body like a fucking.
Yeah. They see what religion you are, so they're like, okay, Lutheran, all right, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, blah, blah, blah.
They're not saying it.
No, I know. It's just funny that they note that. I think one of them is like agnostic. Like, oh, okay, even better.
And they don't even give him a wreath. Like, well, fuck him. What the hell? His makes the most sense.
No, this is a great, like this movie has little great sci-fi ideas that it just kind of has in there for texture that it doesn't really want to explore. And that's why maybe this would be a fertile ground for a series or a sequel or a remake or whatever.
Yeah.
But they think he's dead for whatever reason. They don't check his pulse or anything. And then he jumps up and he's like, I'm alive. And they're like, oh my God. They haul him off to do medical tests on him.
Well, because he's speaking Drac, which just isn't a thing.
Yes. And that, I wish the movie had made a bigger deal of this. Like I was expecting the moment when they talk to him and he is only speaking Drac, and we realize everything we've seen from him so far with the kid has been him speaking Drac. It's just translated for us. And maybe he doesn't even remember how to speak English, but no.
That would actually have time for that, Matt.
There's no time for anything.
No time.
Okay, Matt, you're onto something right there. That would actually been really cool. Like, and maybe they like done some interrogation, be like, "Who do you work for?"
But he ends up on his own ship, so it's like, "Oh, us. Okay, you work for us." You know, because and even the people who were in the other ships when he went down, they're just there. They're right there. They come and see him. Like, yeah, it's him.
They're magically on the same space station.
There's just the one space station. It's just that the other ships leave it and come to it. Right? It's like It's the main ship.
Yeah, and maybe this army only has like 30 people. It's like the private school I went to. The 6th grade class was 16 kids.
Will this never not come up on an episode?
It's very important to me.
Private school.
This is the part where I really think the movie is throwing too many elements at us, because first the higher ups are like, he's a defector to the goddamn Drax, and then his friends are like,
no, not.
Will, you gotta be, come on, man. He's like, I'm getting out of here, goddammit. Let me have a spaceship. So he just hijacks a spaceship and he's back down on the planet. We've been out on this space station in less than 80 seconds, and he's back down with a new haircut. It really feels like we're in reshoots now. And
not one time did he say not call her the white balloon. Not one time.
No, he didn't.
You don't know. It could have happened off camera.
He sneaks
that
over
should be
to
a deleted scene.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch the deleted scenes. Well, let's just assume that it's Schrodinger's cat, you know? We won't know. It's in like a super state.
Yeah.
He did not tell them not to call her the white balloon. So he sneaks down to the Laci. I swear to God.
I will blow this house down.
She wants to know about the white balloon.
No, I do not.
She absolutely does not. She doesn't want to know anything more about anything except what's for lunch. He sneaks down to the mining station and breaks into the facility. He gets into a scuffle with one of the jailers, kills him, and now the Drax slaves see it and they're like, oh, he's a good guy. Yay, we like you.
Your uncle.
One of them speaks English and he's like, I know you, your uncle. Aw.
So sweet.
Hey, your boy is in there somewhere. Go look for him.
Yeah, go look for him in the scariest fucking way to keep a thing in a cage. That the things that we keep in these floor cages, they die often. We don't remove their carcasses. Maybe your boy's dead. Maybe it's so fucked up. That's why, like, he's so like not being fed. He's so abused. He's like dormant. He's alive, but he's not even like coherent. It's fucked me up. I was not okay with seeing his little body flung around, and I can't.
I mean, you gotta also imagine the heat that's probably going on right there too. I mean, he's in the floorboard and he got all these fires and such.
Yeah, but he's cold watered.
Hey, you don't know that.
He's cold watered.
He's cold watered.
He's cold-blooded.
He actually likes it. But Dennis Quaid like goes incognito and dresses up like Indiana Jones, and he's literally going to liberate kids from a mining slave camp. So it is literally just doing Temple of Doom right now.
This is better.
Which had only been out a year or so.
This is better.
He finds Zamis in the cage, but Zamis is catatonic, like Laci says, and then that guy who captured Zamis shows up and he's like, hey, bub, you killed my brother. I'm going to kill you now. And then at this time, the slaves like start a rebellion while the army shows up at the same time. And they're about to go like do something to the Drax, but the Drax are like, no, wait. And this is all going on at the same time.
I like it.
It's just a mess.
War is chaos.
Okay. You're right.
And the Drax had never seen a human stand up. They'd only ever seen
to them,
right? Especially a man in that outfit, a man with that branch of the military. Those people love that we're slaves. This man is serious, and we've heard of him. His name is Uncle. He's a good human. This is our only fucking chance. This is never going to happen again. Let's help that guy.
That makes sense to me. It's the military then coming down. It's like, what is...
Those are his friends. It's not the military. It's just his friends. His friends just took another ship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just go see Will.
They all went AWOL.
Like, Will, come on. Yeah.
I mean,
we won't call it a white balloon.
Yeah. What if maybe it's White Balloon that led that charge? It was like, he stood up for me.
Oh my God.
I'm going to float down there. My balloon self.
I'll
float there. I'm a balloon.
We did it. We solved
they all held on to her and came down.
Yes. And so finally, I mean, this is really all about just seeing Will and Zamas reunite, which they do. Zamas wakes up and he's like, Uncle, you look like shit. And he's like, oh, you're ugly too, my boy. And then the most generic sounding narrator. Look, it's always jarring when narration suddenly happens in a movie. It's even more jarring when there has been a narrator, but now a different narrator takes over. And he's like,
okay, I'm glad that didn't throw me off. I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
So he's like, so anyway, Will took Zamas to the Drac planet where they recited the lineage. And one day, little Zamas had his own pup, and they added Will Davidge to the lineage. Goodbye, everybody.
Do you think his last name is Davidge because it rhymes with savage?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
You know what his you know how some people have two last names? You have like last name and then last name. Do you know what his second last name is?
Fred
Garden.
Oh, I went Fred Savage. You went Savage Garden. Hey, whatever.
And yeah, again, this scene, you are not seeing the actors. You are just seeing probably not even extras. They are just
Matt, what would you say this is?
Well, it's a matte painting. It's a Kota painting. Guys, I mean, don't you want to see Dennis Quaid present the kid to the Drac Council?
I'm over it by this point. I just needed the kid to be
Isn't
okay.
Isn't that the emotional payoff you want?
No, we can't have two. The emotional payoff was that he got him back in his arms. I was like so bargaining with my God at this point. I'm like, I just need them to hug him. If it's okay if he dies, as long as he knows that Uncle came back to try to save him.
All right. Well, I'd like to hear from Wolfgang Petersen's dead. We're going to have to do a seance to say, hey,
that's fine.
What the hell happened here? Did the studio make you do this? Because this really seems like they only had two things to work with. They had a painting and they had a guy.
They couldn't afford Dennis Quaid to record two more lines real quick.
Yeah, it's weird.
Somebody else real fast.
Exactly.
They made him wait for 6 months doing fucking nothing. You have to strike while the Quaid is hot. He probably had to go make another movie before people forgot about him.
No, but this is, you know, the Simpsons episode where the kids get stranded on the island and they learn to work together on the island, kind of like Jerry and Will in this movie. Now, the climax of that episode is they've learned to work together. They're all going to end in harmony. And then James Earl Jones appears as a narrator. He's not been narrating this episode. He's like, so the children learned to work together. And they were eventually rescued by, let's say, Mo. And that's the end of the episode. That's the end of this movie.
Well, there, if it worked for The Simpsons.
Maybe that was what Simpsons was mocking. Maybe they were mocking this ending of this movie.
Probably.
It would make sense. I mean, you go from Dennis Quaid narration to who I don't even know who narrated that. It would have been funny. If
it's
it was
whoever
James Earl
painted
Jones.
this matte painting. It's Bob Ross.
It was Matt. It's Bob Ross, but there is a lot of happy trees.
There are.
There's a list we could make: movies that switch narrators abruptly. Not like in the Goodfellas sense. I mean, I can only think of one other.
Who's going to read this list?
Me.
Okay.
I can only think of one other, and it's Seabiscuit, where there's like an omnipresent narrator, like horses and cars. From time immemorial, man wants a vehicle. But then at the very end, when the horse wins the race, Tobey Maguire starts narrating. You're like, where did he come from? Anyway.
They had an extra few bucks left over, so they decided to have him narrate the end.
Yeah. Got to put the money somewhere. It's like a weapon. Got to nuke something.
Got to load it up. Oh, man.
All right, so Enemy Mine. We're going to go around the room now and give our final thoughts and our star ratings for Enemy Mine, starting with our esteemed guest, Kota. What are your final thoughts on this movie?
my final thoughts is this movie is a cult classic masterpiece. Okay. It's not just a story, but it's more of a small scale like epic, if that makes sense, without like the over dramatized wars and such, but
an intimate epic.
Oh,
there you go. Yes, exactly. And I love it. I will, now that I finally was able to rewatch it, I will be rewatching it again, most likely here soon. I give this is a 5 out of 5 for me.
Wow. Okay. Laci?
I give it a 4. It's not perfect, but I really liked it, and I might watch it again. I don't know. But if anyone ever says they love Enemy Mine, I'd be like,
Hell
me
yeah.
too.
It's. I think it's a movie that you can tell if somebody likes sci-fi and maybe likes practical effects and likes puppets and stuff. You'd be like, hey, have you ever seen Enemy Mine? And then you'll be very thrilled to have shared with them, to have told them about this movie, this sort of underseen cult classic from the 80s. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I love the production design. I think it's really well directed. I think the two main performances are, I think Dennis Quaid is great. And obviously Louis Gossett is so wonderful. And how difficult must it have been to do it under so much makeup, to bring such warmth and humor to this performance and such physicality. I wish I had written down the name of the kid actor in the costume, but he is also lovely. And
you don't give it extra points for having all the matte finishes?
Oh my God!
that is going into my assessment. Where it loses me is I just think that the second half is a lot weaker. And though I failed to convince you two, I think that the movie really has like plot and pacing problems toward the end, and that ending is just abominable.
Rushed.
Yeah, but 3.5. It's very good. Check it out, everybody.
3.5 is good for Matt.
Check it out. Kota, please tell everybody all about who you are and where they can find you.
What's going on? So I am on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook and Instagram at Screentime Kota. You can definitely find my videos there. I do movie reviews and recommendations, and so see you guys next time, I guess.
Check out me and Kota's conversation about best visual effects at the Oscars. This will be coming out after the Oscars, but it's really just us kind of riffing on 5 movies, and hopefully I will have seen Better Man by then. Kota's a big champion of the chimp biopic about Robbie Williams. I have now heard some movie critics or some like Griffin Newman from the Blank Check podcast put it in his top 10 of the year.
All right.
I was like, wow.
Well, now I'm listening.
The cult of Better Man is spreading.
If you need to use my digital library, I have it, so I can let you borrow.
Let's talk.
Well, that sounds illegal.
It's a great movie. Great movie.
Yes. And tell a friend about Load Bearing Beams, everybody.
Yeah.
Say, I listen to a podcast called Load Bearing Beams. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's good.
There you go.
Support us on Patreon. We're on YouTube at Load Bearing Beams Pod. I'm on Letterboxd at Matt Stokes 9. Laci's on Letterboxd at Load Bearing Laci. I have a band called Rural Route 9, and we do the music for Load Bearing Beams, including the song you're hearing right now. Listen to our music wherever you listen to music.
Okay, I love you. Goodbye.
Three, four. Everybody, love bearing beams.